Have you guys ever wondered, could you beat Skyrim as Ice King? Probably not, but I'm gonna do that challenge anyway. So with all that being said, let's get it started. Try to make myself look like Ice King as much as possible, so I gave myself blue face paint, made myself a dark elf for the destruction, got saved by a dragon, like normal, as then it was time for me to run away. As I decided to go with the Empire this time. I wasn't gonna get the Imperial ending, or even finish the Civil War, but this way is faster, so I always follow Hagvar. So after choosing Hagvar to follow, let's get into the rules of this challenge. I'm only allowed to use Ice Destruction Magic or use the Frost Atronach. And that's about it. And use blue robes. This robe was blue enough. I would find a much better one later on, but we'll get to that later. As now it's time for me to finish the tutorial. As finishing the tutorial wasn't that hard, all I had to do was run away like normal, as then I chose the magic stone, which makes it so magical abilities level up 20% faster, which is a great deal. As then I bought frostbite, which will be important for this run. As then I got a horse, and it was time to commit animal cruelty. You see, if you spam frostbite, flames, sparks, any low-level destruction spell on a horse, you can level up destruction quite fast. And since they have a lot of health, especially early on, it doesn't really do much damage to them. So by committing animal cruelty, you can level up your destruction really fast, which I was going to need greatly for this challenge. Which during the first part was pretty easy until later game where it became almost impossible, but I'll explain that later. As now it's time for me to help the Empire. But I know what you're thinking, but you just said you weren't going to help them win the Civil War. And I wasn't, but I was going to help them until I got to a certain quest. And I'll explain why later, but for now it was time to kill some bandits. The bandits gave me somewhat trouble. They were able to do a lot of damage, but I was able to damage them a lot too. So anytime a bandit would almost kill me, I would simply run away and come back, and use hit and run tactics to wipe out the bandits. Until I got to the bandit chief, where he almost killed me several times, but eventually I was able to destroy him, as he fell to the floor dead. As then it was time for me to fight some Stormcloaks. Since Ice King was a king, he needed a crown. And the Nords used to use a crown, an ancient crown, to mark the king of the Nords. So I decided I was going to side with the Empire just to take the crown for myself. As then I fought some Draugr, who were whatever you fancy people prefer. Anyway, they went down pretty easily. I did run out of magicka pretty fast, but luckily the Empire made up for it. As there was a problem. You see, since we were low level, it didn't really matter, but high level Draugr actually were resistant towards frost. So since they had a frost resistance, I couldn't do much damage to them. Well, that's future me's problem, as I finally got the jagged crown and now I can wear it. With this robe and crown, I am officially now the Ice King. Start the main quest. So with that being said, I then went on to Winterhelm to talk to the Jarl there, as he needed to get the dragonstone. I don't know why he trusts me. I literally told him I was a criminal about to be executed, but who cares? As then I got to freeze some bandits to death. As I went to bandit watching them freeze, it was kind of hard for me to kill the beautiful women. Luckily, they weren't princesses, though. That's my weakness. As I started to run low on magicka, I had to wait for it to regen and then blast them off. Luckily for me, these spiders had a weakness, doors. These giant spiders could not get past doors, so all I had to do was hide behind a door and shoot it until it froze to death. With the spiders dead, I then got the golden claw with only a little help from murder. As then it was time for me to fight more Draugr. Since they had a little resistance to frost damage, and they were surrounding me, I needed some help, so I decided to use some traps in the dungeon. It took them a little while to walk on it, but when they did, they went down. Which is a pro tip for any dungeon. If the Draugr seem too hard, simply use traps. They will walk into it. After that, I played Ring Around the Rosie with the ultimate Draugr, as I would run around this little fireplace and shoot him with frost, until finally he was weak enough to die from frostbite. As the Draugr fell down, I then got to fight the final boss of the dungeon. And by fight, I mean run around like a madman, hoping he doesn't kill me. Eventually, he managed to fall down, and I was able to kill him once and for all. After that, it was time for me to fight the first dragon. I used frostbite on him, but it didn't do a lot of damage. Luckily, the city guard did most of the work like normal. I was able to do the old kill steal from the guards, which is nice. After killing the dragon, using my horse a bit more, as I decided to spam conjuration on my horse. You see, if you spam soul trap on anything, especially a dead body or a horse, your conjuration will go up like crazy. Why? I don't know. Which I would need later for a Frost Atronach. But for now, it was time for me to meet the old men, the graybeards. As then, they summoned some weird ghost, and I got to yell at it. After yelling at strange spirits, I then went off to run through a gate, and they were impressed with my abilities to run and yell, so they let me in. After that, I purchased the spell Ice Spike, which will help me out greatly, as now I can shoot literal spikes at people, which is what Ice King does throughout the show. As it was time for me to receive the Horn of Winterhelm, as I ran through the dungeon, I died quite a few times. Yeah, apparently Magic v Magic always has me lose, which is not really fun. Luckily, some necromancers and bandits were there to distract the Draugr, so I just ran past them all and used my magic to destroy the Draugr. Luckily, the skeletons and weak level Draugrs weren't too much. The spiders were surprisingly beefy. Even with Ice Spike and luring them into a fire trap, they took a while to die, but eventually they did. As then I received a note the horn wasn't there, so I met with Dolphine as she looked me up and down and began to interrogate me to see if I was a real dragonborn. So to show her, I had to let her do most of the work as I shot ice spikes against a frost dragon. You can see how this is a bad idea for multiple reasons. 1, it's a dragon. 2, frost dragons are immune to frost, or at least have a high resistance towards it. So what I did was, I would hide on this rock, shoot ice spikes at it, and fall back over and over until it finally died. Which took a long time, but eventually I was able to do it. And now it's time for me to get to the saving grace of this challenge, the Frost Atronach. And then I went to a Thalmor party, and we'll just skip past the part where I give a drunk some beer, because, well, we've already done this a million times. As my Frost Atronach helped out a bunch. You see, the Frost Atronach was able to take a lot of damage and do decent damage against the Thalmor. And he also acted like a great distraction. So this Atronach was literally the only reason I was able to get through this party. I would simply wait, hide behind a door, and spam the Atronach until they got weak enough to die from my ice. Very nice indeed. As with me and the Frost Atronach, we then managed to get past all the Thalmor pretty easily. They did do a lot of damage, but as long as I hid behind my Atronach, I was all good to go. As then, I met with a captive. He told me what the Thalmor were doing, and I thanked him, and we both escaped together. It was time to go into the Ratways and rescue Esben. I wasn't too scared since I dealt with the Thalmor before. I assumed my Frost Atronach could easily carry me. I was wrong, because I died multiple times. No matter what I did, I could not get past Thalmor. Over and over again, I died, so it was time. As I would craft a bunch of daggers and enchant them to get my enchanting up. As I wanted higher magic regen. I also wanted to be a higher level to get more health and magicka, even though they should level up with me, so should balance it out anyway. I wanted to have crazy magic regen, so I could easily fight these people, as I would stay back and spam my spells. This was the plan. On the way, though, I did get jumped by a bunch of mercenaries. And I read a note, it said I stole something, but I don't remember stealing anything throughout this entire run, so I don't know what that's about. But my Frost Atronach and my icicles were easily able to take them down. Surprisingly, I have no idea why these hired thugs were against me, and this is the first time that has ever happened to me in Skyrim. I don't remember stealing anything or pissing anyone off, so if you know why hired thugs go after you in this game, let me know in the comments below, because I would be very curious on your opinion on why they went after me. Anyway, after getting rid of all of them, it was time for me to become the true Ice King. You see, I've been wearing a cloak that's been a lie, as I found blue robes, as the true Ice King would wear robes that are truly blue. And I would have got this at the beginning of the game if I knew they were here. As I got the blue robes, I then enchanted them to 46 magic regen. Not as good as the 51, but I was able to enchant a ring, so overall I would have more magic regen. Not much more, but more. I could have a lot more if I didn't wear these robes. I would have infinite magic regen. But this is how can you beat as Ice King, not can you beat with only ice. So I decided to wear the robes. As now, with more powerful ice spells, more health, and better magic regen, we went back to fight the Thalmor. As this time, we were able to win. and talk to Esben, as Esben agreed to follow me out. As me and Esben and my Frost Atronach all teamed up, we easily got rid of the Thalmor. As I went to Sky Heaven Temple and fought some Forsworn. After getting rid of the Forsworn, it was then time I cut myself because apparently I was not happy with life. After slitting my wrist, I was then able to make it to some wall, skip through Esben's dialogue, and meet up with graybeards and get yelled at by a bunch of old men. After they yelled at me and insulted my ears, I was then able to talk to them as it was time to meet Parthenax, as I used my shout to part the sky. Don't worry, I have to use it to beat the game, so it counts as not breaking the challenge, as I can use shouts if the game makes me. As then I talked to Parthenax. After talking to Parthenax, I went to my crazy uncle, Septimus, as Septimus told me where to find the dragon scroll. But there was a problem. My frost magic did almost 0 damage to these Dwarven machines. I'm talking 0, which means the only way for me to get past them is to run past them. And the only way for them to be destroyed is to have other people destroy them for me. Like this signed gentleman here, who then after watching him kill some robots, I then killed him myself. Very nice. As then I would use my Frost Atronach, but not for the reason you think. My Atronach didn't do a lot of damage to him, but it acted as a huge distraction. Every time you summon an Atronach, everyone goes against that, and it would not focus on you. As then I used parkour, got to the bottom, as I used my Atronach and a restoration skill. Yes, I'm using restoration magic, and I don't count that as failing the challenge. If you do, leave a hateful comment, I don't care. As then I saw back into the path, a shout that can beat Alduin. As then I hit up on a mountain and spam my frost magic at him. I would use Dragon Ground to get him on the floor, and then I would spam my magic on him and wait for it to come back. And every time he hit me, I would simply run back to the mountain where he couldn't hit me. And yeah, this strategy worked out pretty well. I did die a few times, but overall, it honestly wasn't that hard, and it just took a while. But it was a good strategy, and I was able to beat Alduin. After beating Alduin, I then was about to do my favorite thing ever, the Peace Council. It's basically just watching the Empire and the Stormcloaks yell at each other like whiny little piss babies until eventually they come to agreement. After that, I captured a dragon, and it was time to go and fight Alduin. As then, I rode the dragon. Pretty cool. Never get tired of this animation, not gonna lie. As it was time for me to fight legendary Draugr, as my ice magic did almost no damage to them. It would barely damage them at all, because Draugr are 50% resistant towards ice magic, so the only way I can damage them is use a Frost Atronach. Also took out my anger on the spider who was trapped behind this door, because why not? Spiders aren't people and they don't have souls, unless we don't have souls and they are the people and we're not. As in, me and my Frost Atronach went through some more Draugr. And by go through, I mean I would summon an Atronach, wait for it to die, and then I would respawn it. As eventually this strategy made it so I got past the last one, got the key to open the door, jumped through the portal, and it was time for me to fight Alduin. And by fight Alduin, I mean make other people do my work for me. But before I can do that, I had to pass a test. And by pass a test, I mean do my favorite strategy. Spam Atronach and spam frost spells until they would let me in. I don't know if this guy's resistant to frost spells or what, but these frost spells are really high level, and you would just shrug them off, and you think he wouldn't since he's shirtless, but it's whatever. As in me and the previous Dragonborns all used the Clear Skies shout to clear out all the skies and get to Alduin. As I would just use Dragonland to get him to the ground, and then spam my spells. For some reason, meteors are supposed to fall, but they only fell after Alduin was defeated, which I guess I'm not complaining. A glitch actually helped me win for once. As then I beat Alduin, proving yes you can, beat Skyrim as Ice King. I really enjoyed this challenge, not gonna lie. It became really frustrating near the end of the game, as the Draugr became impossible to kill, but early game it was really fun. Being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Hope you had a good day. Love you all. Peace out.